think that what is happening is that delegitimization has been there all the time. I mean, the people in the Middle East never accepted us, and in the world, not many people liked us right from the beginning. And everybody can read what was the opinion of CIA and the State Department in 47 before the vote on the Security Council and the General Assembly about 181. So it's quite clear that many people didn't like the idea of letting the Jews having a state of their own. And this debate has not stopped ever since. The difference is that whereas in the beginning there were attempts to uproot us and throw us to the sea somehow or back to Europe, in other means, first by the use of conventional armed forces until 73 or so, and thereafter through the use of terrorism. And not that these have stopped, but they have become less important. And what has moved into the front of the stage is the issue of the assault on our legitimacy. Mainly because trying to win the war against us through conventional armed forces failed, and so did the effort to do the same through the use of terror. And this has become clear to the Palestinians and to Hezbollah, I think, to a large extent, by mid of the last decade. So we are now faced with a concentrated effort to assault our legitimacy, and this is the main game in town. And we have to find a way to confront it. In a way, Israel today faces four main challenges, and this issue of delegitimization is the most important one of them. We face the challenge that emerges from the fact that radical Islam in the region is gaining more and more strength, especially in Iran, but not only in Iran. These people are determined to simply kill us. And last afternoon, we had a very good example of what they mean to do. When 4 Israelis were killed near Hebron by probably the Hamas organization, which is a part of this group that is determined to kill all Israelis if they just manage to do that. The second threat is the fact that the Palestinian narrative has become the main tool with which people analyze the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And we have a very big problem with that. And occupation becomes the name of the game. People tend to believe that this is the main problem in the Middle East, and that once you solve the Israeli-Palestinian issue, everything is going to be in place, and stability and prosperity will be the only thing seen. Totally misunderstanding the turbulent nature of the people we are confronting and the real targets and goals they have. The third challenge is the way our relations with our most important friend, the United States, and the rest of the free world is going. Because of what I mentioned before, because of the strengthening of the radicals, because of the fact that the Palestinian narrative or export narrative is being adopted by so many people, we are faced with a very problematic political situation, and Fiamma, I think, touched upon it a little bit. But the one thing that combines everything, the cement, and maybe now the main area where things are happening is the issue of the assault on our legitimacy. Why? Because this is something that deals with an assault on the three major elements of our identity. First of all, it's an assault on the fact that we are the Jewish people. Because this is not about the legitimacy of Israel, this is about the legitimacy of Zionism. And Zionism being the national movement of the Jewish people. The assault is against the fact that Zionism can become a reality in the state of Israel, in the existence of the state of Israel. This is what it's all about. If there's no Zionism, then the Jews are not a people. And that's what the Palestinians are trying to prove. They say Jews are just a religion, it's not a people. That's why it's about our identity. The second element that they are trying to take away from us is that Jews throughout their 3,000 years of existence, have always put the issue of having the moral high ground as the most important asset they have. We didn't have always a state, but we always controlled the moral high ground. Now, this attempt to say that we are an apartheid state, that we are war criminals, that we are committing crimes against humanity, this is all about the question of whether we do or not, or don't, have the moral high ground in our possession. In 2002, after the alleged massacre in Jenin, the message coming from Teria Larson, who was supposed to be a friend of Israel, was that in Jenin, Israel lost the moral high ground. And there's an ongoing effort to convince the world that we are not there. And if somebody like Goldstone, one of us, can believe, can even think that we should commit crimes against humanity and will starve the Palestinians and deliberately attack a flour mill and destroy a sewage facility, if somebody can believe that something like that can happen, or that we will commit a massacre in Jenin, or we shall deliberately kill a boy hiding behind his father like Muhammad Adura, these people are nuts. Because there is no way the Jewish people in their state, in their national state, will give up the moral high ground. There's no such a possibility. But this is the attempt to paint us as people who did so. And the third issue, the third major element of our identity is our ability to learn, to go through soul searching. We are approaching now the Yamim Noraim, the Yom Kippur. This is all, Judaism is about soul searching. And when people say, you cannot investigate by yourself what you're doing, this is about our identity as people who are soul searchers. And we have this tendency, we say, Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, and we have a long list. We know how to criticize ourselves. But when people say you cannot, you have to go through through universal jurisdiction, then this is a question about our identity as Jews. And this is why delegitimization is so dangerous and so outrageous. And that's why we have to adopt a way to confront it in a very effective manner. We have to identify two kinds of delegitimization and to adopt different kinds of treatment of those two kinds. Because people refer here to Ahmadinejad and these people who are out front delegitimizers. Just say the Jews must go back to where they came from. They are not a nation, and they should go back to where they came from. It's not only in the Arab world and the Muslim world. Helen Thomas said the same. And there are more sophisticated, sublime delegitimizers. Those people Gerald is dealing with, and many others in the West, who are trying to say that, well, Israel doesn't behave well. Well, maybe they have legitimacy to exist as a state, but let's take advantage of the weak points that the Israelis have in order to isolate them, in order to paint them as criminals, and so on and so forth, so we shall legitimize them. And sometimes we are attacked. Well, can't you take legitimate criticism? We, of course, can take legitimate criticism, but those who are not ready to give us the chance to explain, to put forward our position, these are delegitimizers. These are not criticizers. And we have to be very clear on our differentiation between the two groups. Because of what I said, I think that what is mostly needed is to understand that this is not about Israel. This is about the Jewish people. And you, as the World Jewish Congress, have to understand that this is our mission together to confront this threat. It's not only for Israel. We have to cooperate on this one. We have to work together. We in Israel understand that we have neglected this issue for a long time. We were very much focused on our ability to fight against the Egyptian army and the Syrian army and so on and so forth. And after we put a very big effort in fighting terrorism, and we managed to do something that nobody else managed to do, and this is to win a war against terror. That the Americans are having very big difficulties in doing the same. Now we have, just as we said, Hatovim Latais, the best people for the Air Force, we have to say the best people for the war against our legitimacy. And the best people are not necessarily in Israel in this respect. But even in Israel, we have to find the best people to fight this war. And we got to have an organization, as was mentioned here. We don't have an organization. You have the IDF, we have the Shabak. We don't have any organization who oversees and controls all the elements that are involved in this effort. And what we are trying to do right now, and the Prime Minister has already approved it, is to build such an organization that would coordinate some stuff, that would coordinate all the activities, because so many groups are involved in this activity, but they are not working together. They don't have a common plan. And the third thing that we have to do, and this is the most important one, is to develop such a plan, to develop a comprehensive strategy that will enable a synergy between all the efforts that we are involved with, we and the other people in the Jewish diaspora worldwide, and make sure that all of this is well organized, supports each other, and make sure that the final result is the one we are looking for, which means a strengthening of Israel's legitimacy and making sure that we shall never be in the area of delegitimacy, because when we are in the area of delegitimacy, then all those bad things are happening. We cannot defend ourselves, we cannot fight, we cannot have good results in our peace process negotiations. All these things are going to happen once we fall into the area of delegitimacy. So we have to make sure that we climb up with our legitimacy, and there got to be a different strategy to the one we have today. Today, most of our activity in this respect is reactive, is fire extinguishing. That's what we do most of the time. We have to come up with a strategy that is based on proactive activity, proactive concept that brings in activities in all the domains in which this battle is being fought. First and foremost in the educational domain. Thereafter, the political domain, as Fiamma mentioned. Then in the hasbara, or the communication domain. They're in the legal domain. Much of things in the Gerald touched on that are happening in the legal domain. And finally, on the economic domain, the BDS and all of those things are very dangerous. We cannot let this go on like that. We have to fight against it. And we have to do it together. And everyone, I think, on the international jury can contribute something, because everybody has a contact, everybody has some relative advantage. All of these things should be put together in order to make sure that we make the utmost of our capabilities, and we have capabilities. We have a lot of capabilities, and we just have to make sure that we use them properly. Thank you very much.